Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Kim with Work Hard, Travel Well, and we'll get started shortly. If you're here online with me, do me a favor and say hello. You can like this video and share this video for someone that might find it helpful. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. If you're new here, good evening. My name is Kim and I'm the creator of WorkHardTravelWell.com. If you're interested in traveling solo, how to starting solo travel and how to travel solo, this video is for you. And if you're here, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Drop me a comment in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. As always, or for right now, I am in Atlanta, and let me know how things are your way. Today was a good sunny day here in Atlanta. Got a chance to go for a run. So yeah, if you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. Okay, so if you're new here, again, my name is Kim and I'm the creator of WorkHardTravelWell.com, and I talk about travel tips for busy professionals. And I really am about basically inspiring you all to take time off and travel, because I know like travel is very important. So on this channel, I talk about tips for traveling more. I also talk about tech as well for busy professionals. So do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. I post a new video every Sunday, or either I'll go live every Sunday. So today we're going to talk about solo travel tips and how to plan a solo trip. And this came about because I have a video called Best Countries for Black Travelers, the solo travel edition. I also have a video on how to travel more, and solo travel is one of the tips that I provide or that I tell you about. So it's a way to travel more. And I have solo travel videos from different destinations such as Colombia and many more. And let's see who we have checking in. I see a few people checking in. We have Felicia Holman from Chicago. What's up? Thanks for joining. We have D Walker. Hey, how are you? And we have G.A. Ann from Atlanta. And like I said, I'm in Atlanta too, so the weather was perfect today. So let's get into solo travel, and let me know, have you guys taken a solo travel trip? Did you like it? How was it? All of that good stuff. Before we get into it, I want to kind of poll the room and see, if you've already taken a solo travel trip or you're watching because you want to start traveling solo. And while you guys are like putting your responses, a little bit about how I got into traveling solo. I basically had a job that had me traveling. I was a road warrior and had to travel like all over the place. And that got me comfortable with being able to book my own trips. I had to like stay within a certain budget, all of that good stuff. And so I just became comfortable with traveling solo, having to be away from my home and then like dealing with the per diem per day. And on top of traveling solo for work, I had to, I basically like signed up for all the hotels and all the airlines that I had to use and rental cars companies. And I signed up for those points so that my work trips could count towards my points and that I can then use those for personal trips. So that's a little bit about how I got into, traveling solo. But then on the personal side, I decided that I wanted to travel solo because everyone's schedule is not going to align with, ours. And it's good to travel solo and not wait on people, because if you're waiting on people, you might be waiting for a while. We're all adults, we have families, things like that. So all of our schedules don't align. Everyone has a different amount of vacation days. And I even have to use my vacation days by the end of the year or I lose it. So I'm definitely not going to be waiting on people. So that's how I got started. And then I started, small by when I was living in Charlotte at the time. I just decided to drive up to DC by myself. And then I started going across the country. So I went to San Francisco on a solo trip. Then my first international solo trip was to Turks and Caicos. I know that's kind of odd because that's kind of like a honeymoon spot, but that was my first international solo trip. And I had a good time in all those cities, and it just sparked my desire to travel more solo. So let's see. Felicia says, I love solo travel and want to resume. Definitely feel you on that. Right now I've taken a pause on things for traveling. I have traveled a little bit during the pandemic, but it hasn't been solo and it's been within the States. D Walker says she loves to travel alone. So yeah, some people really love it. Like some people prefer it. And GAN want to travel solo. Yeah. And we have Brown and Beachy checking in. What's up, Brown and Beachy? D Walker and Brown and Beachy, I appreciate y'all. Y'all show up to all the videos. So thanks for checking in. And she says she is a solo traveler. And I believe you just got back. I remember you said you went to Turks and Caicos, and I believe that was solo travel. So I know you have some cool videos on what it's like to visit Turks and Caicos right now. Okay, so let's get into how do you plan a trip? And a lot of people have been asking me how do I plan trips in general, but I figured I'd start with how to plan a solo trip. So basically when you're planning a solo trip, there's a lot of things that go, a lot of things that go into planning a trip, period. And a lot of times if you're working a 9 to 5, it's not easy to plan a trip. And like I said, if I hadn't had basically had to plan all my work trips, I wouldn't have that experience and getting really fast with planning trips. So, let's talk about how to plan it. So you can either go by planning by the deal, like a travel deal, or you can set travel goals. And I know it's hard right now to set goals. My travel goals have been kind of out the window with everything that's going on right now. But, if you have travel goals set in place for the year, that's how you can kind of pick your destination. So let's start with picking the destination. And or you can go by the travel deal. And some of the places that I that I am signed up for travel deals includes Scott's Cheap Flights. That is a email list. So you join it and you get daily, however you want it, sent flight deals sent to you. I follow Secret Flying online, and I use Skyscanner and different things like that. So once you pick the destination, you want to basically pick the destination and then do your research. And if you've never traveled solo before and you're afraid of traveling solo internationally, you can start small. I just told you about kind of my path to traveling solo. And you can start small by doing stuff that you would normally do with, your family or friends. Just start by going out to eat by yourself. And these are all things COVID aside, when things resume back to normal, you can start by going out to eat by yourself. You can start with like a staycation nearby, and then you work your way up, do a road trip, then travel somewhere in the US, and then you can go international. So that's a way that you can basically kind of get comfortable with traveling. So after you've picked a destination, you can look at things. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I love to share my screen with you guys so you can really see how I do things. But you can look at destinations. Let me get this shared. And while I'm pulling this up to share, be sure that you like this video and let me know that you're watching. And also, if you find it helpful, be sure to share it so that more people can see it and join into the chat as we're live. Okay, so let me know if you guys can see. Oof. Okay, so let me know if you guys can see my screen. Let me remove this. Okay, so let me make it a little bigger. And while we're loading that, Brown and Beachy commented that definitely helps to build confidence, because I know a lot of people in some of my solo travel videos have talked about how they've been scared to travel solo. So that definitely, you got to start with building some confidence and start close by. So let's see. Okay, there we go. So I'm just gonna take my video out for a second so I can get a little bigger. Okay, so I use US News and Travel, and this is how I research destinations. So after you've looked at some flight deals and things like that, you can come to here and put in your destination. And I'm not sure why it's going very slow right now. So I'll just put in Brazil. That's the place I'm interested in going. If you guys have any examples you want me to look up for something else, we'll get to that. So put in your country and you click your city. And here's all the information you need on, how to plan a trip to Rio in Brazil. And it even shows you best hotels, best things to do. But here's the really important part that I like, is it shows you the best months to visit. And that's important because you can plan a trip and you might see a travel deal, but the travel deal might be during a time that's not ideal for weather. So if you're trying to go to visit during summer months or trying to avoid hurricane season, stuff like that, this is important. It shows you average temperature and the best months to visit. It'll even show you like when peak travel is for that country. So have you guys used this? This is kind of similar to what I showed in my other video a couple of weeks ago when I went live about where you can go like which countries are open for US travelers right now, and it shows the entry requirements. So this is an additional tool that you can use. Let me know if you guys have used it in the past. Okay. And then another thing I like to use is Google Flights, of course. But what I like to do is if I'm trying to find a destination, I don't have one in mind, I like to use the Explore page of Google Flights, and I say where I'm flying from, you know, how many stops I want to make, when it's going to be, and that will basically spit out some destinations that you can kind of consider to, and then, you know, put in, you can see the price as well. So this is really helpful. And then if you haven't seen, Delta has a Explore map as well that drills down on which countries are open even further. I won't get into that because I went into that in my last video on which countries are open now to for tourism. So be sure to review that. So once you've picked out the destinations, another good thing to do is research. If you're traveling solo, you want to research like safety and also like cost of things there. And safety is important because you want to know if it's going to be safe to travel there. And so you can look at a website called Numbeo, and let me pull that up. And here is the crime index. Have you guys ever seen this before or used this website? Let me know. Okay. So basically it shows the crime index, and of course this goes from 0 to 100. So these top countries are not, you know, they have a high crime index. And this is, you know, of course you have to do even further research. You can look in Facebook groups. You can also go to the country information of the page on the US Travel and Passports website and look at what alerts are going on and all that good stuff. So you kind of have to compare. And then, you know, I've been to Durban. Something actually happened there, so I could see why this is ranked high. But you also just need to do your research, and we'll get into more of what other things you can look for. This is also a good place to come. So you've booked, you know, you're looking at a cheap flight, but you might get there and things are really expensive. So you could look at like food prices, cost of living. If you're renting a car, you can look at gas prices. Okay, so let's just pick Turks and Caicos because that's one that I booked. So that was my first solo trip, and I did not heard it was expensive for not the hotel. Well, the hotels were expensive at the time, but I know Brown and Beachy said that the prices have gone down, you know, due to COVID. Okay, so picking Turks and Caicos. And let's scroll down. So basically you can see a meal here is, you know, average $22.50 and like milk. And this is what I was talking about Turks and Caicos being expensive, because I actually stayed at a hotel that wasn't, it was more like apartments. And so I had to go to the store and I brought like Pringles and those things. Those Pringles was like, I want to say almost $6. So you need to know these things as you're planning a trip, because you don't want to book this lovely cheap flight deal and then you get there and you're having to spend all your money. I mean, you might be eating at the hotel, but if you want to know like meal wise what everything is, and this is at an expensive restaurant, so this is a good website to bookmark. I have a link down in the description. You can download all the links that I'm talking about, and also like more travel planning for solo travel. And so it's free, so make sure you download that. It's already in the description. Okay, so that's one way to research. And you can also look at which, like if you want to do like a package deal, or you want to book it on your own, or that you want to basically go on an organized tour. I tend to always book stuff on my own, and then I get tours when I book tours either ahead of time, depending on what the activity is, or I book tours when I get there. So that's something to decide. Normally, sometimes when you're booking like package deals and organized tours, they could be a little more costly than advertised because you have to pay for single occupancy versus most of the prices are based on double occupancy. So just read the fine print on what the single occupancy would be for if you decide that route. And we got Empress Vibes now resides in Charlotte. That's what's up. I used to live there for quite a while. Second home. And we got Cam checking in too. Okay. So basically you need to decide which one you're going to do. And in addition to like, let's see, like I also look at my points. So after I determine the destination, I'm booking it by myself, basically. And I look for Marriott or Hilton hotels. Those are like my preferred hotels. So hopefully the destination has that. And I go and look at my points before anything and see what points I have. I'm like really, I told you earlier, I started signing up for points back when I had to travel for work. So I use Award Wallet, and that is a website where you can go and load all your loyalty. You can also use it as a plugin or an extension to your Chrome browser. So basically you sign in and load all of your points so that you can get like a overview without having to log into everything all at once. And I'll show you a screenshot really quickly. So this is okay. So this is this is like an example right here. It shows my Hilton. I have it plugged in already, and it shows like the amount of points I have. And there's a screen also, I won't go into it because it has a lot of sensitive information, but there's a screen that also shows shows a summary of every like airline. So your summary of airlines, your summary of your hotel points. So I start with hotel points or just my points in general, just looking to see how I can kind of cut down. So I'll get a cheap flight or a flight deal or book directly through the airline. And then I try to get free hotel stays. And if I have points on my airline, I try to either get a free flight or get the cost down. It just depends on how many points I have. But this is a good resource. Let me know if you guys have heard of awardwallet.com. And also a good thing about Award Wallet is it shows you the promotions. So as you're booking, if you book with Hilton or Marriott or whatever, whichever one, it's going to show you promotions. Okay, hey, bear with me, guys. Like, this did not happen on the last stream, so my computer is like going really slow. Let's see. Okay, so okay, I don't know what is going on. It's not sharing it, but basically you can see if it has like basically if you have you guys ever seen the promotions for like hotels or points programs? Like if you stay by this date, you can get a bonus, 10,000 points by completing a stay by this date. It basically has all of that loaded up for you for each loyalty program. So it's a really neat tool. I would encourage you all to sign up. I have information on my in the guide that I told you is available for free. Can you guys see this shared screen? Let's see. There we go. Okay, so here is the example of the points and the promotions. And also within Award Wallet, there are flight deals. So you see here, you can put in your origin airport, and then it'll show you like different flight deals, shows you the promotions that I talked about. And this is basically powered by Skyscanner, but it's a neat way to see everything in one place. Another thing, if you're not in, you want to get started with travel credit cards, I recommend them. I have got several free trips with travel credit cards. You can see travel credit card offers within from their partners. So they really break it down, like the pros and cons of each card and the details. So that is Award Wallet. Now, after you've kind of researched that, if you do not see like your preferred company and the destination that you're going to, my next step would be to go to TripAdvisor and look at hotels by the destination. That's what's up. Empress Vibes has never heard of Award Wallet. So yeah, definitely sign up. Is really helpful. And they also have like notifications on Award Wallet. So if there's an unusual activity amount on your points and things like that, you can sign up to get notified on that. Okay. So another thing would be to look at the destination. So let's just go back to Rio as an example. And do you guys do more of hotels or Airbnbs? Let me know. And if you guys are finding this chat helpful, there's a link at the top of my chat that talks about how you can send me coffee. It goes towards my technology fund for putting on these live chats in the YouTube and Facebook. So it's sendmeacoffee/KimH. And that is basically linked, buymeacoffee.com /KimH is linked in the comments. And I appreciate all of your support. Okay, so let's go to the hotels. And what I like to do is it always defaults to best value. I like to look at the traveler ranked, and I start looking at the top ones and going from there. And like I said, this is only if I can't find a Hilton or Marriott. And I go from there and look at the hotels and look at the ranks and look at how many ratings there are, because sometimes they could be rated high and they've only been open for like 2 months and they probably have like 5 out of 5. So I look at how many basically reviews there are. I look at the reviews and read them, and I look past the first page. So I'm really like, I don't want to get it all the way out there by myself and stay and not have a good experience at the hotel. So looking at the reviews, and then I look at the pictures, but I click on, if you see this one, the traveler pictures, because I don't want to look at stock photos. Like, that's not good for me. And then I also look at dates of everything. So look at the dates. And then once I decide, this is the hotel I want to use, a good thing is, if you see over here in the left, they basically show you all of sometimes there's more depending on the destination, but it shows you all the sites like Expedia, hotels.com, eDreams.com, stuff like that. So it shows you a comparison of what the rates are. And I'll take it a step further and go to the direct website, because sometimes there are promotions from the direct hotel because they'll make more money if you book directly through them. And I also look at any notices if I go to the hotel's direct website, because they could be doing construction that might not be noted here. It could be in a review, but it's best to kind of look at the hotel. They could be doing construction. I know I stayed in a hotel that I saw the fine print, but I didn't know what was going on. But it was basically telling me that in South Africa at the time, they were having a festival and they would expect noise. And sure enough, there was like a caravan outside my hotel at like maybe midnight. And it was actually cool to see. But had I not seen that ahead of time and, staying there, that would not have been a fun experience. Let's go through. Let me catch up on some of these comments. Okay. So D Walker says, never stayed in an Airbnb, but planning on it. So I've stayed in an Airbnb, but not on a solo trip. And going back to hotels, another thing, if you work for a corporation or a company that has corporate codes, basically a company that has a traveling workforce, they're more than likely to have some type of code set up for them. So I always look at corporate codes. So I look at points, and then I look at my corporate codes for the hotels, and I basically have them saved. So I would encourage you to look at your intranet at your job and see what travel discount codes are available to you as an employee of XYZ. Sometimes I've even called the hotels and like, hey, I work for this company. What can you do? And they, they've given me a little discount. So definitely look at those codes if you have them, and put those in. And I do a combination of using points and using getting our points in cash. So that's another way I'm able to basically stretch out my points. But I would encourage you to definitely look up corporate codes for your company. Okay, so next is you research hotels, you've researched flights. Now the time is to research basically what you're going to do there. And this can be done in a lot of different ways. You can basically use TripAdvisor and look at things to do. If you see, let me zoom in a little bit, but if you see at the top, it has things to do. I like to use that. I like to use Facebook groups, and also like Facebook groups and search. The search button in the Facebook group is invaluable. I'm in several like travel groups, and I just search for, the city I'm going to, and see, like, I sort by date so I can see something more relevant and search by that way. I search on Instagram, so I'll put in the hashtag of the city and things pop up. That's actually how I booked one of my trips to Colombia, because I saw Guatapé, which is a big rock in 2 hours away from Medellin. And I literally saw that on Instagram. And I'm like, I want to go there. So you can look on Instagram, social media, basically for things to do in the destination. I would also encourage you, if you're staying in a hotel, you can reach out to the hotel ahead of time. You can reach out to the concierge. They usually have like a list of things that are you recommended to do on their website. You can reach out to if you're staying in an Airbnb, you can reach out to an Airbnb host and, get more information about the destination that way. And also you can go to a destination's tourism website. So every destination has a tourism website, and you can look at special events that are going on, things like that. So that will help you plan a trip. I suggest when you're traveling solo, look at the top things to do in that destination and what you want to do, and make kind of a loose itinerary, because you need to be flexible. Because like I had this itinerary set up for one of my last solo trips, and I had to make some flexibility in there. And if it's something that's really popular, I would encourage you to book that ticket to that like attraction or tour ahead of time, especially if you're traveling during peak season. And also booking travel or basically transportation from the airport to wherever you're staying, you should book that ahead of time. And I usually work through the hotel and just ask them, like, who do you recommend? First, I check and see if they have a shuttle. If there's no shuttle, I ask for recommendations. So use all your local resources, especially when you're going out of the country, to help you with planning the trip. So let me know if you guys are, let me know where you guys are checking in, if you're just joining. And if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the chat. Okay. So while, you've researched everything, you're booking the trip, you've already booked the trip, you're getting ready to go, I would encourage you to get travel insurance. Like, it's very important. I know we've seen unfortunate accidents of people that have traveled abroad and things have happened. I use World Nomads because there is a policy in place that basically covers, like, depending on which coverage you get, there's one that covers your electronics and things on you. And that's very important because I travel with different electronics such as camera, drones, stuff like that, just depending on where I'm going. So I would encourage you to get travel insurance. I tend to not get the travel insurance that's associated with the flight because I can just get one big package that covers all that. So it's up to you. Definitely research the fine print. Don't rely on the travel insurance or the insurance that comes with your credit card, because that's not going to cover it. So, and, want to look at things like delayed bags and stuff like that. Let's see. So before we move on, let's talk about this question from Empress Vibes. How I talked about I haven't stayed in Airbnb as a solo traveler and feel uncomfortable staying in someone's residence solo. Yeah, I think it depends. The only reason I haven't done it is because most of the times I'm using points to pay for the free hotel night, or I'm using some type of combination. So it kind of works out. I just haven't really done it. But I think there is a way on Airbnb you can search, like if you're a woman, I think you can search for specific types of hosts. And I was almost close to doing an Airbnb in Colombia, but I just decided to stay in a hotel after reading some things about just some nightmares that people had while being in an Airbnb in Colombia. So I just decided to do a hotel. So I think definitely if you're going to go that route, definitely read the reviews and try to search in a way where you're near like a lot of the prime location and stuff like that. But I'm not totally against it. I just, I would have to do a lot more research, especially with the reviews and filling out the hosts. One thing I like to do before I book an Airbnb is I like try to message them some questions. And, if I see the response time is like low, or, just by the tone of the message, can see kind of how the host is and things like that. But there are a lot of people that do Airbnbs as solo travelers. So, excuse me, definitely be careful and just do your due diligence and research in it. But I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't done it yet. Okay. And let's see. Solo Traveler says they always buy medical insurance through IMG and the prices are reasonable for good medical coverage. That's good to know. So yeah, I have information in the guide that I mentioned about more companies that you can look at travel insurance from, but I definitely would recommend it. And also, as you're planning, let me share this with you guys. So I'm like let me zoom in here. I'm like extreme with my planning. So after I've, been basically doing these, looking at the flights, booking hotel, booking, maybe a few advance. Let me see how I can zoom in here. Booking some advance tours. And I basically have a spreadsheet and I put in everything from flight cost. I put out here to the side, like how many points I use. And normally I'll have like my confirmation of my flight information, insurance costs. This was like one of my big solo trips where I went from Atlanta to Johannesburg to Durban to Victoria Falls to Cape Town. So I basically put in the hotel cost. This one I use points on. So I put out to the side, no, it wasn't a cost and there's points. And the shuttle and the tours, I even looked up ahead of time the visa information. That's very important to research if you're traveling solo because some countries require you to purchase that ahead of time. I know for Victoria Falls, I actually had to bring cash, US cash, and pay for my visa. The people, like the guy that basically when they were doing it for the visa, he looked at my money and like told me to give him another 20 because the 20 I gave him was crumpled up. So factor in all that stuff. And then I have my tours and I'll usually have a little more detail, but this is just kind of a shell of what my spreadsheet looked like. But I definitely recommend Google Sheets, putting your information in there and then make it available for offline use because that's important. So you can reference it as you're traveling. And then another thing you can do is put all your travel documents in a Google Drive folder and make that available for offline use. So you can have it, I print my stuff out too, but I also have a backup copy. And while we're on the subject of solo travel and stuff like that with these documents, I even took it a step further and shared them with someone so that they can see like my itinerary. I have a separate tab for itinerary. They can see my itinerary. They can see my documents if needed. And I also gave a copy of my passport. I always give a copy of my passport before traveling. So that is my little 2 cents on how to organize your trip. And, I recommend when you get to the destination to do group tours or some type of maybe free walking tour so that you can meet other people. And I do a lot of tours. Like by the end of one tour in Victoria Falls, I joined a family and I thought it was going to be awkward, but by the end of the tour, they were calling me like Cousin Kim and stuff like that. So I recommend doing group tours. I did another group tour to Guatapé, Colombia. And like everyone on that tour was basically solo travelers or maybe had like one person with them. And like we were all taking each other's pictures and stuff like that. So definitely recommend adding some group tours in there so that you don't feel like alone. And that gives you a way to meet other people when you travel solo. I even had joined a boat tour, and met other people that were traveling solo. And one girl was a Black girl from California, and like we hung out on the boat tour, and then we even like made plans and went to dinner afterwards. So I recommend definitely doing group tours. And like I said earlier, if you book, if you know there's a popular one, like when I went to Cape Town, I booked Table Mountain early ahead of time, so I didn't have to worry about like stuff being sold out. I just wanted to make sure some of that stuff like some of the stuff I really wanted to see was available when I got there. Okay, so some solo travel tips. I would definitely recommend, I just talked about joining group tours. And then when you go to the restaurant, you can, go out to eat. And while you're there, you still can rely on hotels or Airbnb hosts to help you navigate and plan. Ask them for restaurant recommendations. If you don't want to, if you want to cross-reference that, you can look in Facebook groups, you can look at TripAdvisor. Some cities have Yelp. If you're international, sometimes it might not be available, but look at rankings that way and look and see what's open now and sort it by that way. And so I recommend that, and using them for the hotel and staff for recommendations on local transportation. And this is important, well, anywhere, but particularly when I went to Barcelona, they basically had a local version of Uber there, and it was way cheaper than Uber, and it was a local version, and the hotel recommended it. So our first experience with Uber in Barcelona was terrible. They had just got to Barcelona at the time, and the guy didn't know where he was going, and we didn't speak very good Spanish. So it was definitely a challenge. So rely on the locals. And another thing I would say as far as a solo travel tip, make sure when in Rome, do as Romans do, basically, because you're by yourself. You don't want to bring, you want to know what's safe around there. So I made a mistake of when I was in Durban, I basically asked the hotel staff. I told them I was going to a beach there, and they were like, no, I wouldn't recommend it. But everyone, other travelers, everyone was recommending going to this beach. So I was I asked someone online back home, and they said they said it wasn't bad, but definitely just kind of watch everything. And sure enough, I basically had a bad experience at that beach. I had to run away from this guy who was trying to I think he was trying to take my phone. I don't know. But I have a video on that if you want to know more. But basically, do as Romans do when in Rome. So follow, directions of the locals. No matter how much research you do, try to definitely tap into the locals. So that's basically how I plan my trip for solo travel. Let me know if you guys have any questions before I end the chat. And if you have any upcoming solo travel trips, let me know in the comments. I'm just waiting to see how things are going to go with everything. Right now, I'm waiting on my passport to get back. That's one thing you should do, is definitely check your passport expiration date. And if you want to know more why I say that, because some countries you have to have a certain expiration date before you basically pass the date that you arrive. And you can watch my other video about which countries are open now. I get into more detail about it. And yeah, so I don't see any more questions. I see some people. Thanks for watching, Tiffany. And again, if you find this video helpful, be sure to hit the like button if you're on Facebook or YouTube. Share it to everyone that you think that might benefit from it. And also, if you can send me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/KimH. And I appreciate you guys for joining. Make sure you subscribe and tune in, because I'm going to be posting more solo travel tips. So you don't want to miss it. So definitely hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, I will catch you guys later. And have a great evening to you too, D Walker. And Empress Vibe says that they have 3 trips that were canceled in 2020 due to COVID. Sorry, I'm just not catching up on the comments. D Walker said, thanks for the downloads, no problem. And Brown and Beachy Yes. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. And thank you for watching Brown and Beachy. And did I show this already? Solo Traveler has a trip in July. And as soon as Asia opens up, I feel you on that. Like, I've been wanting to get back to Thailand specifically, but I'm just ready to go anywhere. Like, at this point, like, yeah. All right, you guys, thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great evening.